Well, it's 2:30. Let's go ahead and start our meeting. Yvette, if we could do a call to order and roll call, please.
Commissioner Burley?
Here.
Commissioner Brzezowski? Present. Commissioner Mickey?
Here.
Chair Myers?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, if we turn around, stand up for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Let's see, we'll begin with public appearances. Public appearances under the Brown Act, public comment for matters on the agenda must relate to that agenda item, and public comments for matters not on the agenda must relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of this legislative body. Hateful, violent, and threatening speech is impermissible public comment as it disrupts the conduct of the public meeting. This is a warning that if a member of the public attending this meeting remotely violates the Brown Act by failing to comply with these requirements of the Brown Act, then that the speaker will be muted. Okay, so moving on. All this? We're reading all this?
Now you have to open it up for public comment.
Anybody, do I read this?
Oh, no, you don't need to.
Don't need to read that part?
Oh, you should, I think it's a duplicate, but you should read.
This part, okay. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern, not on the agenda during public appearances. Each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the commission. Matters not appearing on commission's agenda will not receive action at this meeting, but may be referred to staff for a future meeting. Persons are not required to give their names, but it is helpful for speakers to state their names so that they may be identified in the minutes of the meeting. So with that in mind, I'm going to open up to to public appearances here in chambers first. Anyone in chambers care to make a public comment?
Welcome, the commissioners. Thank you for the hard work you put in. I'm Ken White. I have a couple questions to ask and maybe a statement afterwards. But the question I want to ask is, decades ago, the city made a decision to be a village and a forest, and we've continued that, and we hope this Forest Commission, since you're in charge of the trees and other areas of the city. The questions are this. Do you know exactly how many oaks, pines, and cypress are on public property in the city? That's the question I want to ask. Does anybody know that? You don't have to answer, but that's the question I'm asking. Do you know how many of those trees are on public property? You see, for decades we had a program in the summer where high school boys and girls were hired by the forestry department, and their job was to take training on what an oak tree looks like, pine tree looks like, and a cypress tree looks like. And then their job was to take quarters of the city as far as they could go and go out on the streets and walk the streets and count those number of trees specifically. So at the end of a few years, when they finished the city, next summer they'd come back and start all over again. Well, it took about 2 years to do the whole city. It's all a walking, but the students, they're pretty healthy and they got along okay. But we knew, as a forestry commission, how many oaks were in the city on public property. Now, if you don't know, there's something really wrong if we're trying to control the city, village, and a forest. So maybe we ought to consider a simple program without consultants, without all types of help, of taking some high school students at the beginning of the year, I mean their vacation in summer, train them, and they're not hard to train. They're pretty quick. And they walk the city every summer, different students, and did their quarter, and if they got to finish with a quarter in the summer, they went to the next quarter. And if they did that, the next summer they'd do the others. But in the 2 years, you knew. And if you don't know how many are there, how do you replace them when they fail or die or fall? The policy then was replace in kind. Pine tree went down, you put one right close to it. And so that's the way it was simply carried through. We knew how many oaks were in public property. We knew the cypress and the pines. So if you don't know, I don't understand how you're going to control the village and the forest theme if you don't replace those trees. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate
Chair, would you
that.
like me to respond to those questions or at a later date?
Would you like to respond to the question?
Yeah. I would like to make a comment on Mayor White's comments. Yes, the answer is yes, we do know. But Mayor White is absolutely correct that for decades probably, every year a quarter of the village was surveyed by a variety of people, and every 4 years we'd have a complete update. I saw the data from 2 foresters ago, Mr. Branson. The data was inconsistent. It depends on the people we had. It was better than nothing, and we did know how many of each type of tree. Over the past, in 2023, in early 2023, through our urban forest master plan process, which is underway, and we're going to be presented that as soon as next month or in 2 months, there's a consultant. They did an inventory and a condition assessment of all 9,958 trees, city trees.
Get close to 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000. So yeah, the answer is yes. We know how many oaks, redwoods, every type of tree. It's not at the top of our heads, but we have that data in our, what's the name of our tree database?
Tree keeper.
On our tree keeper database. So we have current condition as of last year, and a quantity of each type of tree and the location, geolocated location. So we've come a long way in our sophistication of inventorying our trees. Going forward, whether or not we go return to the quarterly, that I think we're waiting for our consultant's expertise to guide us with that.
So one thing, in a year from now, would you be able to tell me exactly how many trees are in one quarter of the city?
Yes.
A year from now, even with the forestry, winds of rain, all
20
that
years,
stuff
yes.
brings them
Yes,
down?
and it's the foresters implying.
Yeah.
Now it's all online. Now we have a accurate database on the computer.
Well, yeah.
As opposed to paper records, which was very tedious and became inaccurate.
And there were no computers at the time when they started doing
That's
it.
probably true.
The reason I know this is because my son was one of the people that was trained, and he did for 2 summers. He did that, but there were. I question your comment about there not being precise. From following in very closely because I had a relative involved, they were pretty damn good. Okay, and thanks.
I think that it's sure great that technology has allowed us to capture the information like we can today. At the same time, civic engagement and finding ways for our youth to get involved in what we have in this village is great, and something that we should consider ways in which we can bring back. So thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. Anyone else from Chambers?
I would like to make a comment, Ken.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. We actually have an environmental club at the high school that is always looking for different projects. It's the environmental club at the high school, and they get community service hours for doing these sorts of things, working with Dale. I think that the club has worked with them as well. So I think they would be very interested in this type of thing if we ever end up doing something like that again. There certainly is a large group of students, I think, that would really enjoy that. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. We'll continue on with public comments. Anyone else from Chambers would care to step up, please?
Chairman, members of the Forest and Beach Commission, Melanie Willig. And I'd just like to comment on a couple of things. My list is longer than I know I can get through, so I just wanted to ask you about the native trees removal in the public right-of-way. Who decides on what species are to be replaced, and how in one block close to my home, 2 redwood trees were taken out of the public right-of-way, very healthy redwood trees removed. I doubt that it went to you. I don't think it did. And in their place is like 14 totally non-native bushes, trees, strawberry trees, and non-native trees on this property. I would like you to go, if you have time on your next field trip, to go down and see what these people did. They took away 2 dead trees, which was great, but in the process, somehow, they got approval for removal of 2 redwood trees in the public right-of-way. And then they came back with box trees, I'm not kidding you, like this big, I am not exaggerating, humongous box trees. And they were right up to, several of them were right up to the wires. And their concern with the redwood trees is maybe they would get involved in the wires and cause a problem. But they didn't replace any of those trees that they removed with any native trees. Now, these people are out of state, and they probably didn't know what the rules are around here about replacing native trees, and especially trees in the right-of-way. But this thing looks like a nursery for, just lollipop trees, decorative trees. So, I mean, if this is the kind of thing we're going to have, I don't even know why we're worrying about a forest master plan. And
Melanie, can you tell us the locations?
yeah, let's see, 13th, 12th, and 12th in Casanova, on the northeast corner.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You can't miss it. I mean, I don't think you all have ever seen anything like it. And I have no idea how this all happened, but it did. And if we see this again, I think there's going to be a real problem. I think we need to do a better job of informing the public, all of these new people, entitled people, who do not know anything about Carmel's ethic or ethos or history. So I really would like you all to consider what is happening with replacement trees. We're taking down a tremendous number of trees, and they're not being replaced. I can tell you, wherever I walk, they're not being replaced. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melanie. Anyone else from Chambers? Doesn't look like it, so then I'll move to online. I see that there's one hand up. I don't know whose hand it is.
Dale Byrne.
Oh, okay, Mr.
Dale, go
Dale
ahead
Byrne.
and unmute yourself.
Looks like you might still, oh, there you go.
New system is different. Good afternoon, everybody. Chair Myers, Commissioners, Director Hurry, and others in attendance there. I'm Dale Byrne, President of Carmel Cares, and a Carmel-by-the-Sea resident that is passionate about the mission of this commission and our mission to keep Carmel beautiful, safe, and inviting. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you in person today, but I will be next time. We at Carmel Cares want to wish you a happy new year. Thank you for your partnership over the past year, and tell you that our newly expanded board and dynamic group of volunteers are very enthusiastic about what we can do together over the coming year. We finished strongly in 2023 and have big plans to continue our work with the city, maintaining and improving parks and green spaces throughout the village, working with other nonprofits with similar missions to achieve theirs, and continuing our work with significant projects regarding safety, including working with neighborhood groups to underground power and utility lines. Like Ken and Melanie, we are actively working with groups, including youth groups at Carmel High School, who share our values for Carmel's urbanized forest and protecting Carmel Beach. We want to work with you, the City Council, and Public Works to make sure we collectively have the right equipment, personnel, and commitment to building the best team we can so that we can properly address the challenges we face over the coming years. With the budget cycle starting very soon, we don't have much time to prepare together. Our leadership team and volunteers will be actively participating in your meetings this year and are here to assist you in any way we can. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Dale, and we'll look forward to having you back in Chambers reading a chapter or a verse or two from your book that you had. So
I'll be doing that.
good stuff. Anyone else from the online community? I don't see any other hands up. Oh, nope, doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go ahead and close public appearances and then shift into announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two announcements, both special announcements. First, I'd like to announce that Jerry Montemorizzi, who's here in the audience, is our new commissioner. And I believe he was just sworn in moments ago, and he will be seated. Where does he sit? Oh, yeah, he's sitting right there next month, and we look forward to that. And I spoke to him yesterday. We had a great conversation, and we'll be meeting. Justin and I will be meeting with him in the next few weeks to try to get him up to speed, like we've done with other new commissioners. So welcome aboard. Great to have you. He was appointed by the City Council on Tuesday, January the 9th, and his term, he completes the term from former Commissioner Sowers, so his term expires May 30th of 2025, but of course, it'll be extended 40 more times after that, so let's just keep going and going and going. Also, I'd like to ask Mark to come up. Mark Shervington Bradley was a temp, is a temp. He came to us in February? March 2nd, right when the storms were going haywire. Weeks after our former city forester announced resignation. The storms were going crazy. We didn't have a forester. Hey, Mark, you gotta help us out. Mark went to bat right off the bat in the storms, in the worst of the storms, and worked like the Dickens. Mark's been here since February, March
2nd.
March 2nd. I forgot.
As long as someone knows.
My short-term memory is just shot. He did a great job, and we are going to miss him like crazy. Mark is going up to Sonoma County as a planner, full-time permanent position, so we certainly can't blame him. And tomorrow is his last day. He made the effort to say, you know what, I'll stay here just a little bit longer to make one more Forest and Beach Commission meeting.
He's not lying.
And for that, I wanted to thank you so much and appreciate, seriously, you did a hell of a job. And then you also filled in for Tom during paternity leave. So I would suggest that the commission does a little round of applause and appreciation.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to say a lot. All I want to say is working here is why I decided to move to planning, to stay in public service. This has been, surprisingly, one of the best work environments that I think I've ever been in. I'm amazed about how much I've learned. The Public Works team, every single member of that team is incredible. They've been so welcoming to me. And as much as I wish I didn't have to go, I think this place has given me the knowledge I need to jumpstart my career in planning. And I will miss every single one of them. But I'm happy I had the opportunity to work here. I'm happy I had the opportunity to write for the commission, to work with the commission, and maybe I'll see you in the future. I really hope so.
We're just down the highway.
Exactly.
Thank you.
When it gets hot up there.
No other.
Well, congratulations and best of luck to you. I do recall your first day and how quick you were in responding to the chaos. So hats off to you. And welcome, Jerry. We're going to be excited to have you up here. So that's great. All right, if that's it with announcements, then we'll move into the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of commission discussion and/or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. So we have two pieces on the agenda, the December 14th, 2023 meeting minutes, and then the final Forest and Beach Commission rules of procedure.
I move to approve both items.
So we have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, and we're able to do both together, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then if we could go ahead and get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Burling,
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Mickey,
Yes.
Chair Myers.
Yes.
Thank you, both have passed.
Okay, thank you very much. And moving right along into public hearings, the first public hearing today is the consideration of the pruning of 2 coast live oak trees in the public right-of-way at the northwest corner of Lincoln Street and Santa Lucia Avenue. I believe I'm going to hand this over to our forester, Justin.
Thank you, Chair Myers. So this item was seen last month, but I was unfortunately not able to be here, so it got continued to this month. We received a tree permit application to prune 2 trees for view that formally was brought up to commission in October of 2021, and it was approved. But the only problem was there was no kind of just discussion of, well, what happens when we got to come do this again? So that's why we're all here. The 2 trees are on city property along Santa Lucia, and 1 tree is window pruning, as we saw on the tour, to view through it, and the other tree, tree 2, is slight reduction to regain some blue water views of the Carmel River Beach. The trees are both in healthy condition, and due to the surrounding area being pruned a lot and the trucks hitting, especially tree number 2, the trees kind of only have one way to grow, and that's up. So, do you have, I think that's most of the history there. If you have any questions?
Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, sorry. The recommendation is to deny the pruning just because it is city trees, and pruning for views is not something we take into account in terms of regular tree pruning maintenance.
Okay, thank you. From the commission, are there any questions regarding the information that our foresters presented to us right here?
I have one question for Justin.
Yes.
If we were in the window of 3 to 5 years, so a little bit further out from the previous pruning, would you have a different point of view? It seemed like in the write-up that the part of the concern was the close proximity to the October 21. It's
already
2 years.
pruning for, not really, because it's still kind of the same issue. I believe that the former city forester was also recommended denying the permit, so it's just not, view pruning and, topping is another way of saying it. Is not, industry standard. It's not a recommended tree pruning method.
Okay, if it wasn't topping the trees, but I guess what I'm just saying is that if there was,
Just so in
if it was I guess if it was an acceptable proposal and the time increment were better, would that be more favorable? I'm trying to understand how much risk is the fact that it hasn't been 3 to 5 years.
You're really only supposed to prune trees the oaks especially 3 to 5 years, but that really does kind of take into account, like, overall, it's coupled the recency coupled with the pruning method.
Okay.
Any other questions right here? I had a couple. My first, I've certainly noticed going up and down Santa Lucia, there's a lot of pruning up, right, to take account for trucks and vehicles, et cetera, how with the proximity to the streets and the maturity of most of the trees along it. Is there a schedule that's in place for the regular pruning of city trees along Santa Lucia? And if so, do you know when the next plan would be for this particular group of trees to be pruned by the city for just general maintenance and care?
I'm not aware of a schedule for that. Seems like when it's hit or becomes an issue or reported to us, we don't have a pruning schedule for that road.
Okay. Got it, thanks. And just for, just reinforcing.
Unknown caller.
Reinforcing that in what you've put here, that if additional pruning for tree number 2 would not benefit the tree's long-term health, and that was it for both trees, is that correct? That your concern is over the long-term health of these trees by this type of pruning?
Yes.
Okay, got it, thanks. I don't have any other questions. Then I believe the applicant is here. Would the applicant care to make a statement?
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Yu. I'm the applicant, and thank you to the commission staff and to the longtime residents of Carmel. I'm a relative newcomer, having been here or having owned my house for a little more than 10 years and being a full-time resident for 2 or 3 years now. I'd like to address a few of the concerns that the city forester had raised and share what my perspective would be. One was, the first point that I think he had made was that there hadn't been a discussion back in 2021 about what would happen when the trees grew back. And actually, I don't recall how many people in this room were actually at that commission hearing back then, but there was some discussion in terms of someone in the audience had pointed out, well, the tree's going to grow back anyway. Why do you want to bother trimming it? And I had acknowledged at that point, yes, the tree would grow back, and my desire would be that periodically we would have it retrimmed, and it would be done at my expense. So I think, as you know, it was a factor. I don't know how each commissioner felt about it because it wasn't part of the official discussion, or I should say the official decision to proceed. But there was a contemplation that the trees would grow back and that they would require periodic pruning. The second point that I wanted to address was that I understand that the city does not get involved with pruning for views or enhancing views. And I wanted to make the point that I'm not trying to enhance the view of my property. I'm trying to reverse the encroachment by the city trees onto the views of my property. So it's trying to maintain the status quo as opposed to letting the trees grow bigger and taller. I'm not wed to and I'm not a technical expert in tree management. I don't seek to necessarily top the tree in terms of my understanding of topping as you kind of go across the top of the tree. And when I had spoken with Iversons, they had described to me that it would be a thinning of the trees. And of course, you know, the branches, the small branches that had grown taller might be trimmed as well. But by no means am I trying to top the trees wholesale or do anything drastic. And part of the reason why I'm coming back now is that as the trees go bigger, my understanding is that it can be more harmful to them if you wait longer to trim and the branches are much bigger. And so my intention was to just periodically manage it while it's smaller, you know, thin sticks of branches that are causing an issue. And then in terms of timing, I think you had raised, the city forester had raised concerns about it might be too soon. You know, I'm not here to try to be difficult in terms of taking actions, and if the forester would, you know, be amenable to it, I could wait until the end of 2024 or early 2025 if he believes that the health of the tree would be at less risk. But I do think that the pruning that I'm contemplating in my mind is much less invasive of the tree. In fact, The quote that I got from Iverson's was almost $500 less than the fee I paid to have this matter brought before the commission. So I think it shows that it's not a very big job in their mind. So with that said, I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address them.
The commission, are there any questions for Mr. Yu?
I have one question. Is 2021 the only time that you're aware of in the 10 years you've owned the property that the trees have been pruned or trimmed?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I do then. Let's see. Looking at your application, there's two things that I'm reading in what you've written. One was to trim the existing window. I just want to recount what I'm reading.
Yeah, so for tree number 1, the one on the corner,
right,
it would be to thin out where the prior trimming had been, just to revert it back to the 2021 state, the post-trimming state in 2021.
Okay, I'm just trying to get clarity from what your statement here today is, that you're not looking to enhance, instead essentially preserve, and thinning was your kind of modus, but I'm just wanting to go back through your application because it says to trim the existing window, which in my opinion would be just taking that one portion is what you're asking, and then to reduce the crown, which again, I kind of think of that, and maybe for clarification, that's not topping, that would be considered more of like cleaning it up.
Basically,
so I kind of feel like reducing the crown kind of means like,
yeah, it's like the sanitary word for it. You know,
Topping.
it's not topping, it's crown reduction, but it's, you know, reducing the height is really.
Got it. So I just understand kind of the disparity between what your statement is and what's on this application, just to understand what you're going for. And then my only other question being that I don't think any of us were, maybe our director was here for this 2021 meeting, and although I believe I was on the commission, I wasn't at that meeting, but maybe Sarah was. The permit at that time was to create the window in tree number 1?
Well, so there was no specific discussion at the commission meeting as to what it would entail, but rather the commission assigned to Sarah Davis the task to work with Iverson's to sort out what would be an acceptable approach towards thinning the tree.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Just tried to understand how it came about.
Yeah.
So I don't have any other questions. None other here.
I have one.
Oh, yeah.
May I
Good.
ask a question of Justin again?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the trees presently are healthy?
Yes.
Correct? And they've remained healthy since the 2021 pruning?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
they stayed healthy?
Yes.
So it sounds like the idea here was, I don't want to say the oaks are like bonsai, but the idea here is that you would like to see the trees kind of maintained as they were pruned in 2021, just to like maintain that as the status.
That's correct.
Right, so like
yeah.
3 years from now, we would expect you to maybe come back in and ask for you to be able to pay to prune them again if the city for whatever reason wasn't.
Depending on
Okay.
how the tree grew.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and the health of the trees to date, you don't think, or I should ask it, has it been impacted by the pruning that was done the last time?
The health, no. The structure, yes, but the health, they're still healthy.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. Anyone from Chambers care to make a comment about this particular hearing?
Listening to this, it's very unclear to me what is really going to happen. Are we going to leave it up to Iverson to decide what kind of pruning is appropriate and not appropriate? Or are you guys going to be really clear in your comments and in the permit about exactly what's going to happen? Because, I'm sitting here thinking, as a past commissioner, not on Forest and Beach, but on others. It's this whole explanation seems to be, at least for me, difficult to see how it's going to be enforced and implemented, or implemented and enforced, whichever way you want to look at it. And personally, I would agree with staff that that no topping or pruning, selective pruning at the top, would be appropriate unless somebody is there to observe how this is going to be done, because I think you might be very surprised about what the commission thinks is appropriate and what the tree pruning people think is appropriate. So I think staff's got the proper idea, and I think that the tree should be left alone. A hole in a tree so that someone can look out their window is a little bit much, I think. And you might find that it's more of a tunnel than just a clearing of an area for a small window. So I would support the staff.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from chambers care to make a public comment? Doesn't appear so, but it looks like we've got a hand up online. So let's see, is that Cindy Lloyd?
Yes, Cindy, go ahead and unmute yourself, Cindy.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Cindy Lloyd, and my concern really with this situation is that you could be starting a precedent if you decided that you would allow this to go ahead, because trimming an oak tree for a view is not the same as trimming it for health. And it doesn't take just an overnight, or excuse me, just 1 year or two for an oak to come back from a trimming. It does take a long time, and even though the tree may be healthy, you're still taking away its ability to photosynthesize food for itself in the future. So again, my bigger concern is setting a precedent. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cindy. Anyone else from online? Doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment, and I'm going to bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I make just a comment or clarification of what happened in 2021.
Thanks.
Okay, in 2021 at the time, the application was to prune 3 trees. The prior forester, Davis, administratively approved pruning of 2 as routine maintenance, routine pruning. The forester recommended to the commission of the time not to approve pruning that 3rd tree because of the view issue, that it violates our municipal code. We don't prune for view alone. The forester was, I wouldn't say overruled, but the commission decided to allow for the pruning of that 1 tree with Sarah's guidance, working with Iverson. So the contractor didn't decide what to do. The city forester guided the contractor what to do. So that's what happened then.
The tree on the corner.
Number 1?
Number 1.
I don't know.
I think both of them. I think she talked to them about both of them.
Okay.
She was involved with the pruning, but the commission approved pruning, it made an exception to the view issue. But the staff said, hey, we believe this is a view issue. We don't think it should be pruned. The commission said, go ahead and prune it, but be very careful, work with the forester and Iverson. That's what happened at the time. The reason this is coming back again is, although the trees are healthy, structurally healthy, and that's where Jessica comes in, but it's the precedented setting of the view issue. Now, with all due respect to Mr. Yu, it's the staff has to abide by the rules of our municipal code, and that's why we are recommended denial, because of the view issue. So it's not really the structural pruning, the window on the tree, the health of the tree, it's the view issue. And one of our public comments kind of pointed out, if we allow this pruning for view, regardless of how minor, do we allow other pruning for view? And then that's the rabbit hole that we might encounter. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. I don't know, Commissioner Burling, do you recall this?
Yeah.
You do?
I think it's similar.
That, about the summary? Okay. Yeah, this is for, would anyone like to start this off and in the discussion?
Well, so I have a couple of comments. And one is, I think we need to really look at the views issue. You have a fabulous view, and whether the trees go or not, you're going to have, or whether they get trimmed, it's going to be fabulous, no matter what. But we do have to, I think, be much more aware. It is okay for views if it's for the public. That wouldn't fit this situation. There's a tree on the corner, an oak tree, that is taking away the view as you drive down Lincoln. So although this is a general comment, I think we should look at views again, not necessarily for individual homes, but for the public. Having lived here lots of years, we have lost a tremendous amount of the views we once had. And it's too bad. We have a fabulous coast, beautiful mountains to the south, and that, in many cases, that's what we have lost. So that doesn't necessarily represent this case, but I think it's something that should be looked at by whether it's us or City Council or whatever.
So Sarah, just to clarify, you're saying that the city code allows for view when it's public, correct? And that tree number, I think it's number 1, the one on the corner.
That's number 2.
It's not numbered.
Okay,
It's
it's
not
the one on the
he's
corner.
requesting.
Oh, no, it is.
It's
number 2.
it's-
That's the corner one that has that big kind of cutout.
A window out of it,
Yeah.
correct.
No,
Right, that's-
this is the one that's even corner, more corner than that
Oh.
isn't, according to when we were there.
Oh, you're saying the one, I know which one you're talking about right now. You're saying that as you come down Lincoln,
There's this big
there's a
oak-
big oak tree blocking the public view of that beautiful
And it would be a
area,
beautiful view for
which
the
is,
public to see.
which is
yeah.
a separate than
Yeah.
the tree that's being
So
asked
it's not
about.
1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
understood.
got it. Oh. And that's true, right? It says it in the, right here in the code, right? That
Yep.
it's specific for protecting public safety and preserving the health of a tree, right where city does not trim for significant public view, right? Tamara?
I don't have anything to say right now.
Anything additional from you? Want me to go?
Go ahead.
I can. Yeah, so I guess, where I'm at with this is just like the general look of the street is really, it's very jagged, unfortunately, right? And there's obviously people that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. I think it's, for someone that lives in the city that is impacted by trees that are not being pruned when they should be for health, for structural integrity, and then is willing to fund that work to be done. I think that I commend that, right? And that's folks in the city recognizing that the city only has so many resources and so much time, and so I can appreciate part of this request. And I think that I'd be willing to go down a path that at least for tree number 2, which is the biggest tree, that's got the ivy growing all the way up it, that's got what I would say is with that an eyesore with that big huge hole that was kind of cut into it, and I think it's unfortunate that tree just overall though looks to me like it could use a kind of a shaping up, that not one to enhance someone's view, but one that to preserve the integrity of the tree for its life, right? Tree number 1, unfortunately, is just, it's really butchered, and honestly, I think it just needs to be left alone so that it can get a chance at revival. And it's gonna grow. I mean, that's what trees do, they grow up, right? And that's when we choose to live here, we're choosing to live in an area that has trees, and they're there, and they're gonna get bigger. And that's part of what, I think that's part of the charm, and sometimes can be part of people's angst, but in the reality, I mean, that's a big reason why we choose, at least in my opinion. So where I'm going with that is that I feel like there's an opportunity to provide some sort of a compromise in terms of thinning for health that isn't specifically targeting any kind of true view enhancement, that the owner is willing to pay for, maybe not, maybe they wouldn't be, I don't know. This is not exactly what they've applied for. But that would have to be under the supervision of our forester. And that's, something that I could feel, I think, along the lines of what we should be doing. And it's unfortunate, I mean, that we don't have a pruning schedule. I kind of get, maybe it's difficult to really have that in place. But sure, it would seem like we would, back to our ex-mayor Ken White talking about like kind of quarters and like going through, that we would have some sort of a plan in place that actually, that our citizens could count on the fact that we're going to come through and maintain the health of trees and not just be reactionary. And I'm not necessarily saying that's what we do, but that if we're moving in a direction of more planning, that's better for our citizens than it is just to be like, oh, well, shoot, it's been 10 years, maybe we better go look at it. Again, I'm not saying that's the way the approach is.
No, that's totally, I mean, this, the challenge we have here is these beautiful big trees that the city, or in the city right of way, aren't the 25 feet tall street trees that Monterey has. And then, that's, you can just go, or even downtown district, that's the main issue, because it's not like they can prune 6 trees in a day. It's like 1 day or 2 days to prune one of the street trees. So it is a task, but that is a very good point that you made, and especially the trucking routes, and that is on the escape routes that we learned during the CWPP. So that is, like, when we're in the field, we'll deal with the brush, and we need to, get as much room on St. Lucie as possible.
10,000 trees is a lot to manage, that's for sure.
Just a few.
Well, and I think, especially the storms the past couple of years, like just even think of our Urbis Forest Master Plan, just think of how many dead trees and stumps need. So I think we're sort of, it's not surprising that we may be behind on some of our, what I would just consider regular tree inventory maintenance, because the urgent, important crisis amount of work far exceeds what can be done right now, right?
But maybe we ought to be considering where we plant public trees, and if there are view opportunities, that may be a place where we skip. It is okay to have some open land around.
Yeah.
So instead of before, and Director, please correct me if I'm not allowed to do this, but I instead of making a motion to the effect of at least the direction I'm going, I wonder if we could consider having the applicant come back up to the podium, and we could address a possible compromise to see if there's any type of agreement to that before denying the application outright. Not that that was what we would end up doing, but is that appropriate?
If you have a consensus of the commission, I think that's appropriate.
Would that be something that
Yes.
we're welcome to do?
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Yu, if you'd be willing to come back up and kind of hear out, I think, generally,
What you said is-
and I know you heard it, but let me repeat it all the same, that instead of what you're proposing in your application, that the application would be amended to be willing to pay the cost of trimming tree number 2 for structural integrity at the with the presence of our forester at the time the work is completed. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of it. I don't think tree 1 can really, there's really anything that should at this point be done to it. I don't know, are you open to this idea?
Just one point of clarification.
Sure.
I think tree 1 was the one on the corner, right?
Yeah, I
No,
think, well, I
tree
think that
one
we
is
were
tree-
wrong in the field. So that in the report, tree 2 is the corner, and tree 1 is the one down mid-block.
Yeah, I'm just looking at
okay.
attachment, our attachment number 2.
Yeah,
It
okay,
has,
okay.
it has that at
So
the
we were
corner.
talking about them wrong before. So tree 2 is the corner, and
Okay.
tree 1 is
And
mid-block.
so you're referencing the one on the corner, tree 2?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm amenable. I don't want to commit to actually trimming it until the forester has an opportunity to discuss with Iversons what would make sense from the forester's perspective, and then I could decide, do I want to spend the money to do that? But yeah, I mean, I want the trees near my house to be healthy, and I don't want to do anything that would cause any issues with the city either. So I appreciate that sort of approach.
Got it. I mean, I think we certainly got the sense of your appreciation of the town, and I'm happy to be here as a full-time resident, and having owned it over 10 years, you know, you care about it. We get that, and so working together is certainly the right approach. The only part that I think is important to add is there is a cost for the forester to be out on site, right? That was established last year, I believe.
The forester's part of the job is to oversee trimming of trees, so that's just, there's no charge to an applicant for city staff time.
Okay, so that.
Except for rare situations where we're seeking retribution. or recovery.
It's part of the inspection fee that we implemented.
Okay.
But
Gives them something to do.
Got it. We give them something to do. I'm sure that that's the case.
there's nothing.
And then
well,
10,000 trees.
So
I think the only thing, JC, I might consider adding to what you described, which
Please.
sounds reasonable, is to Sarah's point, right? To the extent that there are, as that work is being done, that anything that can preserve the public view, you know, as you're coming down that stretch of where Lincoln tees into Santa Lucia. I don't know, there is a tree that's not on here that's just sitting north of this tree number 2. I remember the first time we went, we thought that was the tree until we walked down to the corner, right?
yep.
So there is another tree there, which you're not, isn't on your application, and we're not
That's
asking you to,
correct.
we're not
you're going
asking
to be
you to
paying
pay
for the whole neighborhood pretty
we're
soon.
not asking, we're not asking you to pay for that, but I would just say that other tree is blocking some public
Yes.
view. And what I would say is, to the extent there's any part of tree number 2 that is blocking public view of that, I think that would be worth considering on site when you're there.
So that should be part of his assessment.
Yes. Correct.
Of the forester's assessment.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, then thank you. I'm going to open it back up to public comment
Okay.
for that, and then we'll go forward with some sort of a decision. But okay, thanks. So then I'm going to open up to public comment. So first, back to Chambers.
Can I make a public comment?
Yes, absolutely. You're part of the public.
Even though I'm next on the agenda, I'd like to understand what PG&E has to do with the trees in the city of Carmel, and when they put a tag like that on your property, do they have any right to trim trees? What is their involvement, please? I'd like to understand that.
Yeah, let's,
I do appreciate you asking that question. That might be appropriate actually for your hearing that's coming up, or of our original public comment. This was public comment related to this specific hearing that we're having. So anyone else from Chambers? It doesn't look like it, so I'll take it to online. Is there anyone online that would like to make a public comment about our reopening this discussion?
I don't see anyone's hands raised.
Doesn't
at
look
this
like it,
time.
so we'll close that public comment and bring it back to the commission for last thoughts / someone making a motion.
Okay, you started to do a good job, and the two of you, between you, want to come up with I mean, what you said, I think, is something we could probably support.
Okay, so before I make the motion, just so that I understand everyone, that we're all on the same page, that the motion, that what we're talking about is denying the pruning of tree number 1, approving the pruning of tree number 2 for structural integrity and health. and that work has to be done under the supervision of the city forester, and in that evaluation or assessment, also that the forester will take in consideration any significance per public view.
Yeah, so probably mainly going down Lincoln, the hill, and seeing the views of the Carmel River Beach and the river.
Is that sound?
And then the idea of you're looking at that corner tree, it doesn't have to be in the motion, but we would be asking you to look at it.
The other tree.
Yeah, I think maybe that could be a good future agenda item or something to add in.
And Mr.
Yep.
Chair, would your motion include that the applicant pays for pruning of tree number 2?
Oh, thank you. Write that where. Let's make sure that there's, at the applicant's expense. All right, I'm going to give it a shot. Ready? Here we go.
Let's go.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the pruning of tree number 2 only for structural integrity and health, that all work must be done by a licensed tree service company under the direct supervision of the city forester, and that the work will be done at the applicant's expense.
That's it.
Okay.
I second it.
And we deny the application for tree number 1, or did you say that already?
The motion was to approve the pruning of only
Okay.
tree number 2.
Okay, only tree number 2, okay.
And it got a second. Do you think you got it? Do you want me to go back through?
You just said tree number 2, so.
That's correct.
Originally, you said,
Approve.
okay, tree number 2, okay.
I was approving
Never
it,
mind.
right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
And it got a second.
Yes.
So then, looks like we could take a roll call.
Commissioner Burling.
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski.
Yes.
Commissioner Mickey.
Yes.
Chair Myers.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion has been denied and passed, right? Passed.
Well, the motion was
Passed.
passed.
The motion was
Yes.
passed.
Yeah.
Passed
The motion was passed.
for tree number 2, yes.
Okay, we're moving on in public hearings. The next is the consideration of the release of a stop work order at Monteverde Street, 3 northeast of 9th Avenue. Back over to our forester.
Thank you. Okay, so in October of 2023, I was driving around the city looking, going to permit, and I got a call from one of my crew members that there was some pruning going on, and I needed to go look at it. So at the site, which are 3 oak trees, 2 holly oaks, and 1 coast live oak, outside of the property located at Monteverde 3 northeast of 9th. The trees were severely over-pruned, and at the time the landscape company was there doing the work, and I talked to the leader, not leader, sorry,
Foreman?
The foreman, and told them to shut the job down and that this was unacceptable pruning process. We looked into it. The landscape company was not on our approved tree pruning list, and also any pruning of city trees in the right of way require a tree permit, and there was no tree permit. So I commissioned a third-party independent arborist report to get evaluation of the trees, which came out to $5,660.92. So the recommendation is, at the time, the landscaper conveyed to me that a neighbor told the crew members to prune the trees and asserted himself as the owner of the property, but there's no way to prove that, so we have to go off of the person who hired the company. That's a civil matter, and so the recommendation is to allow the release of the stop work order and require the property owner to pay $620 for the stop work order investigation per the city fee schedule. Double tree permit fees, which would be $1,330 plus the depreciated value of the trees from the arborist report for a total of $9,139.92.
Okay, thank you very much. From the commission, are there any questions about the information the forester has provided right here?
Has the city already paid for this consulting work?
We've received the invoice.
Okay.
It's a start.
Just for clarification, there was never even an original permit for the tree, any of the trees, okay.
No, it was just found out from someone telling us to go look at it.
Okay, thanks. Well, if there's no other questions, the applicant, I believe, is here. Would the applicant care to step up to the podium?
Yes, I would. My name is Ruth Gupta. I own 2 properties in Carmel, the one 2 doors down from the property we're talking about. I've had it since 1987. I've spent a lot of time in Carmel. I love Carmel. I was here on December 31 of 2022 when the first atmospheric river came in and all the lights went out. It was quite a situation, and then we had, as you well know, the chaos of several more of these storms. In early spring, one of these was put on my door by PG&E that pruning needed to occur, I assumed, for the wires in front of my property. Nothing happened. Oh, I should also say I'm here with my landscape person, Edgar of Central Coast. His company has been working for me since 1987, his father before him. Nothing happened, nothing was trimmed, and the winter was fast approaching. I fully understand I should have gotten a permit. I didn't realize that, or I would have done so. I was worried about the trees bringing the wires down. I talked to Edgar, and I said to him, just a little twig snip so that they're not on the wires. Something that, quite frankly, I don't think you would have even noticed is what I was intending to have happen and occur. As you know, that's not what happened. The neighbor behind me chose to pull into my driveway, behave as if he was in charge, and direct a young crew to do the awful result that Justin sent me a photo the day that it happened, and I was frankly horrified. I understand that I owe fees to the city for this. I very much regret that this happened. I will say I have no intention of civil litigation against my back neighbor. It's not something that is going to bring any joy to anybody or remedy the situation. So what I would like to know is how we can remedy the situation going forward. And also, as I'm learning more from the commission today, what has PG&E got to do with pruning trees in the city? Because they're the ones that put me on guard, in a sense, and worried about the situation after experiencing the storms.
Can I speak to PG&E? Or are we going to wait?
Yeah, well, I don't know, are you?
Once she's done.
Yes, I would like, I'd like to understand.
But are you finished?
Are you done, though, or are you still
I
have-
think so, and, but I'd like questions. I'm happy to answer questions.
Perfect, thanks. So then I think to that,
Okay,
if
so-
you've got a comment
so-
or question.
Under the California's Public Utility Code, PG&E has utility easements all underneath and around their lines that gives them the ability to do what they need to do to maintain electrical reliability. So it's in your house deed that they have that easement across. Right. Oh, but it's like if the tree's on your property, on a property holder, so the big trees on your property, PG&E has an easement on those trees because they need to maintain the reliability of the high voltage lines.
Right.
So that is that's what their thing is. That's what their role is in terms of pruning trees on public and private property. Is they have a going way back that to maintain those lines. They're allowed to prune them because otherwise they could just say, well, if you won't let me prune them, then you don't get electricity.
I understand. So is PG&E doing any work in the village?
Yeah.
Because they haven't come to my home.
Yeah.
We just saw them today. Yeah, they're on Ocean right now.
Okay.
Well, it's not PG&E, it's their contractors.
So is something that you receive in March could take years before it happens?
Did you call PG&E to ask them when they were planning to come and what they were going to do?
I didn't call them, no.
Okay.
Is that
But
the,
I will.
Is that the original? That's what they left on your door? Or is that just
Yes.
a sample of it?
No, this is it.
Can we look at it?
Does it have any?
Well, JC, but isn't there, I remember when I first joined the commission, there was some discussion about PG&E, and aren't they on a cycle with the city of talking about what trees they're trimming? Because there were some trees that were cut that would cause concern.
They let us know about removals.
Yeah.
But not
Not
the
pruning,
pruning.
but removals.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times too, because the pruning that they conduct is the same. Like the same notch is always cut out of the tree.
Right.
It's the removals because then you see a bunch of stuff that disappeared, and
Right.
especially because large trees they just leave in the road, as
Right.
you've seen before too. So
Let's
Yeah.
focus on if there's any more questions. And here, let me show you this. Pass it through. Any more questions specific to our applicant? If not, then we'll open it up for public comment before bringing it back for discussion. Since others are looking, I don't know if commissioners have any questions.
Yes. Hi, Ruth. So you had initially hired Edgar to just do some light pruning. May I ask?
Edgar does maintenance on both my property and my daughter's property every week.
Okay.
I mentioned that PG&E hadn't come and that I was worried about the wires. Could he please just do a little twig trimming to clear the wires? He said to me that tree work is not in the scope of monthly maintenance, and I understood that, but that what I was asking was so minor that yes, it was doable. Now, neither one of us, at least I was not aware of the need for a permit for just that, though I would say I don't think anybody would have noticed, except that they would not have been on the wires.
So, if I can ask, it mentions one tree would be trimmed
Right.
by them. May I ask what tree? Because it looks like you obviously had all three of them, or were
The tree I
asking.
was concerned about is next to the telephone pole. It's very, very close.
So the one closest to your driveway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Had you asked Edgar or his team to trim all three trees, or just the one tree that you had understood was supposed to be trimmed by PG&E at some point?
I can't say that I mentioned 3 trees, but what I said was twigs to clear the wires. If you look at the front of the house,
Okay.
all of them had been touching the wires.
Okay. Had he given you a quote for that additional work that's not usually in his scope?
No, he didn't. And I've been working with him for so many years that if he put another couple of $100 on my bill and said that, then I would have paid it. It wasn't something that I felt I needed a quote on.
Okay.
I have goodwill between his company and myself.
Were you aware that those trees were city trees?
No, I was not.
Did you think that they were your trees?
I did.
Okay.
So, you made in your statement, you said that you're fully understand that you needed a permit now. And that you understand that you owe fees. Are you
Yes.
Suggesting that you recognize the recommendation from the city and that you acknowledge and are willing to pay those fees?
I'm willing to definitely to pay the fees to the person who conducted the arborist report, and the permit fees and the violation fee. I'm not quite sure about the amount for replacement trees. I think that's a separate issue.
Okay, and
The amount, just to be clear, the amount being proposed or recommended by the city forester is $9,139.
Yes, but
Okay.
there's,
I think she's addressing the 5660 for the depreciated value.
yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm concerned
Just
about.
in continuation of Commissioner Mickey's question about, so when you asked Central Coast Landscape to do the work, and it was just a couple branches that were overhanging because you were concerned
Yes.
from storms, and I think everyone can understand that. What I don't kind of, I mean, I'm trying to put these pieces together, because if it was just a couple branches, why was there a full crew?
Just two young men.
It was just two
guys.
Two guys.
Just two
Got it.
guys.
And
They always
they
send two
didn't think
guys.
to alert Edgar that there's a whole bunch of more work we're doing here. Yeah.
I think they were entirely intimidated and overwhelmed by the gentleman who drove his vehicle into my driveway and told them what to do, which was not what I had instructed at all.
So, yeah.
It's unfortunate neither of you were there.
Yes, well,
And neither
Edgar
you nor
was
Edgar
there
were
at the
there.
beginning, but he
Well-
then went to supervise another crew. But no, I was not on property. But they've been on my properties for nigh on 40 years. I've never needed to be on site when, maintenance was being done. I didn't see this as being a large issue.
Well, I mean, if they've been
Obviously,
on your
that was
property
an
for
error.
many years, they would have known who the correct owner was, wouldn't you think?
These two young people had not been at my property before or met me. No.
I see. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, a couple things. One is that we refer to Ms. Gupta as the applicant. There is no applicant here. Ms. Gupta is the apparently responsible party. And may I suggest that the commission ask the Central Coast Landscaping representative, who's also a potentially responsible party, to make an appearance if he wishes. And certainly we have I have questions for the gentleman, and maybe the commission does as well.
Well, absolutely. I didn't know that he would care to speak, so thank you.
Commission, my name is Edgar. We've been working in Carmel for many years. In 2005, we got the opportunity to purchase the company from Tom Dyerly. I'm not sure if you guys knew who he was. We worked for him for many years. Never had a violation in the city of Carmel. We've done maintenance here in this area for a very long time. I think the young men that Ruth is referring to, so I have a couple of crews. I have a maintenance crew, and then I have a construction crew. I'm licensed through the state of California. At that particular time, the maintenance crew had done their job, and I went ahead and I sent over my construction crew to do some of the pruning. I instructed what to do in that morning, left around, I think, Justin, you might have been there 9:30-ish, 10 o'clock.
Mid-morning.
I came back because I was getting a call from them. During that time window is when this gentleman from behind Mrs. Gupta's property decided to come down, drive into the driveway, and assert himself as the owner, and basically instruct to improve his view of the ocean, and he was instructing then on what to cut. And that's when I got the call, of everything that happened. So I can answer any questions pertaining to that.
I'd like to ask you some of the same questions that I just asked Ruth.
Sure.
Were you aware that this was city property?
I was not aware, since I'm not a arborist. I mainly do work inside of the properties or inside of the boundaries, fencing boundaries, that sort of thing, on both of her properties. So I was not aware that that was a city-owned tree.
You've taken care of her property for many years, but you didn't realize that that was city property?
Correct.
Okay. Do you realize that since you work here in the city that you would need to get a permit to trim trees?
I realize, yes, but I'm not an arborist, so I've never had to deal with personally doing a permit. I had asked Smith's Tree Service, which is now retired, to do some pruning at her property. Also Iverson to do some pruning at the property. Since it was going to be just minor work, I didn't think we needed a permit to do that. Now, whenever there's major work, obviously I try to get the right professional that is licensed to do that sort of work.
Is it true that, did you say that on the day that this occurred, you had construction workers trimming?
Not construction workers. What I said was that I have a crew that does maintenance and I have another crew that does construction along with maintenance or any other work that we need to get done. So that crew tends to work with me pretty closely. Maintenance. Go ahead.
Landscape construction, is they're landscapers, but they focus more on installing
Paving.
For example,
walls,
we can
yeah.
do paving, we can do some trimming,
Walls,
walls, that sort of thing. And then just my maintenance crew only concentrates on doing maintenance routes.
Right.
So they would have been aware of who Mrs. Gupta is. My construction crew wouldn't have. They've never met her.
But you said, Justin, that this company was not authorized to do tree trimming in Carmel, correct? In
They're
your
not
opening?
didn't get the tree trimming business license and have it signed by me and on the list.
Okay, they're not on the list. Okay.
So if I can just finish my question.
Sure.
So you've owned this company for 18 or 19 years?
Correct.
And you didn't realize that you needed to have a permit to trim branches like that on any tree, whether it was on the city property or on Ruth's property herself?
Once again, since we don't do tree work, I did not realize that I needed a permit to do that. Now, when it comes to other construction work, obviously we need a permit, we need plans and so forth. So I'm well aware of that and the permitting process when it comes to that.
Edgar, do you, sorry, do you mind?
Do you want to go?
I have just two, a couple.
Go.
Because only because we had some dialogue in the street in front of us. So I guess first, do you recall the dimension of what I understood were just a couple branches that were on the wires that were on the tree closest to the telephone pole? That was apparently the one that was of concern. Do you recall?
Do I mention the caliper dimension?
The dimension of the branches themselves.
It was probably 2.5 inches, 3 inches or so.
Okay. And then, so you and I looked at the lineup of the three trees together, right?
Right.
And when this neighbor from behind would probably have been most concerned about that tree closest to the telephone pole because apparently there were some branches that were going out over. I don't understand the instructions that neighbor would have given for the rest of the trees, 2 and 3, who all, that you and I looked at together, all had been topped pretty cleanly and multiple branches across. It wasn't as if it was just one or two. Right. I don't understand that instruction. And then even more so, it's hard for me to understand any crew that's willing to do more work than they were told to do, but that's just maybe my bad experiences with construction. So I don't know.
Well, I can't speak to what the instruction was as to what he told them to do. I instructed them on what to take care of on all three trees, because my instruction was to liberate the secondary power lines to make sure that nothing was touching them. So that included oak number 1, 2, and 3. So I wasn't just instructed to do just the one nearest the telephone pole. I was going to do all three across.
Got it.
And once that neighbor showed up, he felt the need, without really looking at his view, that it was going to impact. So let's go ahead and instruct on what to cut.
Got it. And you were instructed by Mrs. Gupta, instructed you to do 1, 2, and 3.
We were instructed to liberate the branches that were impacting the secondary power lines. That included 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Did you ever think to ask like Iverson or one of these other tree companies to come look at it since there were tree branches and power lines?
I did ask. I asked Smith's Tree Service. I met with them. they were going to do some tree work on the acacias inside of the property. I also asked Brian to take a look at those 3 trees. He explained to me that, you know, secondary lines are important, but obviously the primaries are the most important, and that PG&E at some point would get around to doing it, and that it wasn't a big deal. And I said, well, you know, so I did meet with him on site, and I explained, you know, the severity of what Ms. Gupta, or not severity, but what she was worried about, which was the secondary lines. And so I did meet, and I did ask someone to do it before I did any sort of pruning.
Mr. Chair, I have a series of questions, and sir, with all due respect, some of these might be uncomfortable, but.
Uncomfortable?
Okay,
Okay,
here
sure.
goes. Do you do maintain other properties in Carmel?
I do maintain other properties in Carmel.
Okay, do you do other tree work in the city of Carmel?
I do not.
Do not. So this tree work was kind of more of a rarity.
It was a rarity, and I thought I was helping.
Okay, next question. Did your field crews, once the gentleman from the neighbor, well,
Yes.
when he came, did your field crews call you or any way let you know, hey, we have a change of scope here. We're going to be cutting down these trees significantly?
They did not call me. So what they did is they assumed that he was the owner, and he presented himself as the owner of the property, and he was instructing them on what to cut at that point.
Okay, do they know better now the next time?
Of course.
Okay.
But there won't be a next time. I'm not an arborist.
Okay, sir, do you have an active business license with the city of Carmel?
I have an active license in the state of California.
You have an active, that is correct. Do you have a city business license?
I do not.
You do not. Do you know the last time you've had an active city business license?
It must have been 21, 22,
It expired in June of 2020.
2020.
So you have 4 years of business licenses to make up for, I believe. I think you might want to take care of that before you do any further work in the city.
Okay.
Next question is, would your staff, your crews recognize the gentleman who appeared?
Yes.
Are you sure it's a neighbor?
Yes.
Do they track him to the house?
They seen him at the window instructing them even further, pointing at the tree as to even take off more of the branching. So yes, they would definitely identify
Okay,
him.
if there was consideration to refer this matter to the police department, would your crews be willing to cooperate with the police department to identify the person?
Yes. I spoke to them once again. I wanted to make sure that they both, I spoke to them separately to make sure that their stories corroborated one another's, and they both checked out. They're most definitely willing to do that.
Okay. Can I get your word that you will be promptly applying for a city business license before you do any further work in the city?
Of course.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
take care of that.
Last, but maybe I'm stepping on the commission's toes, but let me throw it out there, see what happens.
Okay.
It's okay?
Probably not.
Probably, I'm probably getting in trouble, but I've been in trouble before.
Can I ask one question before
sure,
you finish that? You mentioned that the man was pointing which to cut from the window, yes?
Yes.
From his window in the house in back?
Yes, so the view is not 100% in line. So what he was doing is he was pointing at one of the crew members to tell the person that was doing the trimming which branch to take off.
Did your crew think this man is pointing from a house that is not on the property, but a house that is behind the property? Did that give them the idea that perhaps he isn't the homeowner?
No, they assumed that he was a homeowner. He came into the driveway. He asserted himself as a homeowner. There are many homeowners here in the city of Carmel that have multiple properties, so that is not uncommon.
I'm aware of that, but
Right.
he didn't go into that home. He went to another home and was pointing from a window from another home.
Right.
Okay.
Sir, if I can continue, just a couple more comments. You said you are not an arborist, your company does not have an arborist. Are you aware that you need a certified utility line clearance person, or someone certified to work around power lines. Are you aware of that?
They were already under the power lines.
Sorry?
They were under the power lines.
Okay.
PG&E had cleared them before. They were well underneath the high voltage lines.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
definitely.
thank you for that. Okay. As a potentially responsible party, this might, we're stepping on some toes, but the primary, or the property owner mentioned that she was amenable to making the payments for the stop work order investigation fee, the double permit fee, the consultant arborist fee, but had some concern about the loss of the value of the tree.
Right.
So would you be amenable to paying for the cost of the damage to the trees? And maybe we can get on with this.
What is the total cost of that?
$5,660.92. So we can certainly, it's in the packet. We have the arborist report that
Right.
explains how that number came about. I'm not making the motion on behalf of.
Right,
just
right.
Exploring the option to make
Yeah, no,
a
really-
deal, a settlement.
Yeah,
where
I
all
really do
parties can
appreciate
walk
that.
away.
Ruth
move
and
on.
I spoke about this. Obviously, there was a violation, and we're aware of it. And I think what we're hoping to get is a resolution. And we were thinking, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, if it's possible, since you guys are saying that these trees are not going to regain their tree-like form at any point, removal of holly oak number 1, which is closest to the power pole, keeping holly oak number 3, which is more likely going to come back, removal of coast live oak number 2, and then the replacement of either 1 or 2 coast live oaks or holly oaks at my expense. We would pay for the removal of the trees. I'm not sure if stump grinding is necessary or not. And, you know, we would like for you guys to consider that as part
Okay,
of
so
the
you are
resolution.
willing to accept some financial liability if should we reach a deal?
I would need to speak to Ruth about that.
Okay, those are all the comments I have.
So, yeah, that's,
There-
Ruth,
any
would you
other-
attest to that? Or I just wanted to make sure that they got that on record as to.
Yes, is it clear that what we're saying, and I thought that you are all saying, is that the tree next to the telephone pole is not going to come back? Is that correct?
I mean, none of them are really going to come back. The structure is so far gone. They're alive, but they're never going to be trees again.
So what do you view as the remedy to that?
To remove and replace them.
Remove and replace?
Yeah.
Okay. Given that that situation is being recommended, and that the current tree is super close, within a foot of a telephone pole,
It wouldn't be in the exact same place.
should we not plant further over?
It wouldn't be in the exact same
Instead of
place.
three-
It would be
basically, simply,
in these
instead of
areas.
two
That's not
two
part of this.
Not in-
new trees,
I think we're trying to
so
come up
that they're not,
New settlement.
it's not on the pole.
But that's not,
It just seems like a good solution to me, but I'm not an arborist.
that needs to
So
be
I
paid.
think,
mean,
I think we should probably just, if there's any other questions
Well,
for,
Why don't you finish, answer her question, and then,
I think the site could handle 3. The problem is there's the 2 other small trees there that probably would it be better to have oaks, maybe clear those out, maybe a little. I think that the area can handle 3, and I think that they can be they'll definitely be far enough away from the power line, because we don't want
We don't want anything near the.
no, so I think that the area in front of the house can handle 3 trees.
What trees would you recommend replacing?
Probably coast live oaks.
Coast live oaks. What size?
15-gallon, 24-inch box.
Okay.
That's the standard replanting.
Okay.
It's in all the formulas, and that's what the city plants.
Right. Is that something that you guys are willing, you know, for our company to take care of as part of the resolution?
Well, Iverson, would it?
That-
Or would
let's
it
put
be an
that to them.
arborist? Or
we are, I mean, we haven't had a chance to discuss this.
I see.
I
We're
think
not even
there's,
there yet.
Okay.
there's some comments are going back and forth. I think if there's no more questions, then what I'm going to do is open up to public comments, and then we'll bring it back to the commission, and it's possible we might interact again with you about it, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So with that, I will open this up to public comment, and I'll start with from the chambers, if there's anyone that would care to speak to this particular hearing.
Of course, Melanie.
Thank you, Bob, for all of your comments. I don't know how somebody could work in this town for 18 years and not know that they have to have a business license, that it has to be kept current, and what the rules and regulations are. Thank you for mentioning that, because that's one of the first things that occurred to me when they got up and started talking. Well, excuse me, you do not have a business license. Everybody who works in town has to have a business license. And thank you for that, Bob. And the second thing is, you have to pay your business license, and then you know the rules of what you're supposed to do if you're a landscaper in the city of Carmel. You don't touch the trees unless you go to the city and have approval. So, you know, this is the most convoluted story that I've heard in a long time. And then asking for not replacing one of the trees that you butchered, and that you didn't go to your neighbor and make the neighbor somewhat aware of the fact that, you know, excuse me, you've touched these trees, you've brutalized them, and now the structure's gone. So I hope you don't set a precedent of not, you know, being really strong on a corrective measure with this property owner and with the person who was directing traffic. And certainly the gentleman who owns this landscape company is culpable because he was not there and he wasn't, you know, he wasn't manning his crew. And he listened to somebody that he knows darn good and well. He had to know that this person was not the property owner. So that's all I have to say. It's a very sorry story.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else from chambers care to make a public comment? Doesn't appear so. Look to the community online. Anyone online? Doesn't appear so. So I'm going to close the public comment, bring it back to commission for discussion. Who would like to lead it off?
Well, it's very unfortunate because taking out 3 mature trees and putting in 3 new trees, we've obviously lost something with that. So, you know, we have to do the best that we can do, but it's a loss even to put three new trees back. We've lost the, you know, 3 mature, beautiful oak trees that were there. So, you know, I think we need to have, if that's what your recommendation is, if you don't think that they'll grow back in any meaningful way, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay. I think that $5,600 is really not a lot then, losing 3 trees. Is that essentially, we're saying that that's what the value of losing 3 mature trees?
And to bring in new ones.
And to bring in new ones, okay. Okay.
So does that 5,600 include the city taking them down and replacing them?
Yeah, that's part of the
depreciated tree. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the arborist report. There's all the way they get to those numbers,
Okay.
and that's a big part of it is the
But
removal.
I'm saying, but you would apply a portion of that to cover that work.
Yeah, I think that's in the.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we need to water those trees and do some maintenance to keep them growing in the early, you know, months, year that
definitely.
so we have to give special attention to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to ask some questions. I mean, first of all, especially when we look at this, which is the Google Maps that shows the kind of the health and vibrance of those trees to the skeletons that are currently there. I mean, it's shocking, honestly. In terms of the appraisal charts, to Commissioner Tamara's comment that the value seems very low when it's a depreciated value. If it's a removal, I mean, isn't it the true cost of the tree that's being removed? And I see one base cost coming in at $31,933. So can you explain to me just the math on how it's come up?
So what happens is you get a true cost of the tree, and you put in 3 different factors to depreciate it. And the thing is, if you go back on Google Earth, the trees are healthy, but they're already facing some depreciation to begin with because they've been topped for the power lines.
Okay.
And there's, I believe they explain it in the thing, in the report, but you start with a number that's not always 100%, and then you depreciate down. Like I did these for the former city forester a bunch.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate the clarification. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I think this is pretty open and shut. Not the applicant, the respondent. Is that?
Yeah, we can say respondent.
Respondent to
Property owner.
the property owner has acknowledged that she fully understood she needed a permit. I'm not taking away from her worry about the possible power lines and power outages, et cetera, but she also has acknowledged that she understands that she owes the fees. I think in this recommendation, I think that these numbers are, I think that they are exactly the way it's supposed to be structured. So I would make a motion to approve the forester's recommendation as it's written here, and that's it.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, if we get a roll call.
Commissioner Burling?
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Mickey?
Yes.
Chair Myers?
Yes,
Thank you, the motion is passed.
got it. Okay, well, maybe for the lighter side of business, our orders of business is where we'll go next. The orders of business are agenda items that require city council, board, or commission discussion, debate, direction to staff, and/or action. And it looks like the first we're going to talk about is the consideration of the installation of a split rail fence at North Dunes Habitat Restoration Area at Ocean and San Antonio Avenue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Forest and Beach Commission. I wanted to just bring your attention to the background of the North Dunes Habitat Restoration Area. It's an environmentally sensitive habitat area. Do you want me to put it on full screen?
Thing on the bottom right. Oh.
That's not me.
Verify it's you.
Presentation. I don't know how you do that. I know it doesn't show up.
Is that a Sebastian thing?
Can you make it full size?
Yeah, full screen, so it's easier to see.
You see down there in the by where it says 60%. Can you get to that little icon to the left of it?
Right, but we're not seeing that on
It's
this.
not.
Oh, I see. You don't see anything?
This is the verifier.
Just the desktop.
You might have to go on every time.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah, that's
Or should
fine.
we? Okay. It's in front to you as well, right, on your screens?
Yeah.
You can
Yes.
see it? Okay. Okay, so the North Dunes is an environmentally sensitive habitat area, and we're proposing to place a wood fence around the perimeter of it to to keep from trampling by people and dogs into the Isha area. Currently, there's a post and cable fence there, and this would be more of a permanent fence that we're proposing. It would also include openings to guide people to the designated trails area. It would be a split rail cedar wood fence that's constructed of the same materials that was recently installed at the on Mission Street at Forest Hill Park. And would be paid for by Public Works within our budget, and it would be installed in the next few months. So it's located along Ocean Avenue, and it's about 550 feet long, and it would terminate at the sidewalk that is leading to the public restrooms. It would include a wide opening for access to the trail and the volleyball courts. The fence along San Antonio would be located adjacent to the unpaved parking lot area and is 350 feet long, and it would also include an opening for trail access. So our staff recommendation is to approve the installation of the 3-rail split rail fence to define the boundary of the North Dunes Habitat Restoration Area adjacent to San Antonio and Ocean Avenues. So I'm available to answer any questions.
Mary, I have a question. Is there any way that this fence could match the beautiful fence that Carmel Cares has installed on Scenic, so that we have harmonization of the fencing that we have along our ocean? The 4-foot 3 split rail to me just seems like perfect for like a park or Mission Trails. It just seems like it's violating some of the natural beauty of that area. And the fence that Carmel Cares put in was really pretty, and I'm just wondering if, I don't know if Dale's still on or not, or whether or not we could match that so that at least they're the same.
I'd like to make a comment, though, that people could just step over that, swing their legs over the one. I mean, but they won't do it because there's a bluff. Thank you. I was trying to think of the right word. But I don't think it would be appropriate for, as it is, people are going to squeeze through the little area that, unless you make it right up to the trees, what we were talking about when we were there. If this is to keep people out, which I think is the goal of this.
Yeah, one of the primary purposes is for dogs and people.
I think you have to have something more substantial. It is a great fence where it was, but they don't even join, so it's...
I'm just wondering how, I see people walking to the right of the sidewalk, like if you take where the asphalt ends into that area, I see people all the time in like 3 to 6 feet, right? It's almost like an equivalent, you take the asphalt and double it in terms of people walking. But I'm just wondering, do we think we have that bad of a problem that we need to put a fence like this there? And that we can't match what Carmel Cares did?
From what I understand, it's been in the plan for the North Dunes Habitat area for a considerable number of years, up to, 10 years or so, Bob? Is that what, I know Joey,
like that,
Joey Canepa, she has been, having it in the plans that she's, in her yearly updates, that's been on the agenda to do for a long time, the split rail fence. So, yeah.
And if I may answer the question about the barrier rails along the scenic pathway, it was kind of a different design. First of all, that was a $100,000 project. We had, I'll just use the word special, redwood.
Yes.
This is proposed to be cedar. The bolts that were used at the were stainless steel. Here, we're not proposing any hardware. The footings at the barrier rail were deeper and thicker and whatever. This is proposed as very simple. So this is a much simpler design than the barrier rails. The barrier rails are also meant, not that it would prevent a car from running over, but it's more structurally strong. This is more a nice looking fence. This is to keep people from trampling all over the North Dunes area. So it's kind of it's not really comparing apples with apples, in my opinion.
This proposal, is it 550 feet or is it 350 feet? I can't remember.
The one along Ocean is 550, and then the one along San Antonio is 350, I believe.
So 900.
Yeah.
And your estimated cost of materials is 4,000. Now, you guys could be probably putting some fences up around town that you're going to get called.
We do.
My residents. I've built some fences. It was a lot more expensive. And way to save $400 a year, Bob, to make that $4,000 come together. Let's see. Is this going to be a Public Works team project?
That's great.
It's like 100 feet for every person.
We could get Yvette to demo
that
the
bridge is
post and
looking
rail
really
cable. But no, it wasn't. It was just meant to be our regular street maintenance crews.
But that other bridge is great that you guys did, so that's.
For sure.
And that was a fun project. It really was. Interesting.
Commissioner Kelly, I empathize with your appreciation for the work that Carmel Cares with the cooperation of Public Works and funding, I believe, and yeah, $100,000. I mean, it's impressive and absolutely beautiful, and almost called a work of art, especially with the wood, et cetera. I understand, and having spoken to Joey a number of times over the years, the vision that she had seen, and although I don't necessarily completely agree with totally fencing the whole thing in, I understand the preservation piece. I actually like the look of it. I would only say that as we were touring it, I am a little concerned about how close it ends up being to the walkway and the pavement. And so I would ask that just as the design kind of gets finalized and the wear, that maybe there's some consideration and a little bit more of a buffer so that it isn't as if you're walking along, you hit the fence, right? That's all. I don't.
That's fine.
I felt like otherwise I'm excited about it. It'll be a nice aesthetic look. And it does, as you said, match up with some other areas in and around the city, i.e. the Forest Park that you've recently done, and looks great there. So I would move that we would approve this.
Yeah, I would too.
That's what we're being asked to do. I don't know if it really needs a motion. I just think it's.
Oh, I think it is a motion.
Is it? But I probably want to take it out for public comment before we would do
absolutely.
that.
Yes,
So I'll go ahead and first of all, open it up here to chambers, which, come on.
All right.
Oh, everybody laughed.
Question about the cost. Did I hear that right? It was $4,000?
For materials, that's what.
Only for?
Yeah. Well, it's estimated, truly.
Yeah, that's really good and just even cheap cedar. The next question is, how much labor would someone guess time for that? I'm just curious as to what it costs around here to build a fence too. I mean, I have.
Oh, this is cheap compared to, yeah.
It's like a smoking deal.
Our Public Works Superintendent, Rob Culver, is on Zoom. So he could certainly answer that question, because he estimated the length and the cost and the time to put it in.
Okay.
Rob?
Rob, you'll just need to unmute yourself.
Is there a good game on TV?
No, he might be, a truck hit a fire hydrant a few minutes ago, so he might be chasing that down.
Shoot. Fair questions, I think. It sounds as if the city has figured out how to budget for it, and so that's good news. I'm going to open it up to, since there's no one else in chambers that looks as like they'd like to speak, anyone from our online community that would care to make a public comment. We do have a handful of you still out there hanging on. It doesn't appear so we'll close that public comment and then bring it back for commission to consideration of approval of this. Does someone want to make a motion to that effect, if that's how they feel?
Well, I move that we accept the idea of building this fence as it is pictured and as they have already figured the cost of the material.
I would second that motion.
Adding that, excuse me.
No, I probably beg your pardon.
Adding that to make it as wide as possible given the location. Go.
I second your motion.
Okay.
Ready?
Looks like a roll call, please.
Commissioner Burling?
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Mickey?
Yes.
Chair Myers?
Yes.
Thank you, the motion is passed.
Guys, I think this is the first thing that Mary's presented to us that we actually approved.
Wow.
I mean, she might need an applause. It's baby steps. We're happy to have you.
Yes, we are.
All right, fantastic. Let's see what else we've got going on. We've got a few more things in our orders of business. Next, we'll get the report from our forester of December 2023.
All right, so this is December, but also mostly a year recap of 2023. And we've also shown kind of tracking it against 2022 and just seeing how different the years have been. In 2023, we removed 261 city trees, as opposed to 135 in 2022, and most of those were due to the storms and the reaction to the storms. 59 stumps were removed through contractors and city staff. 287 trees were pruned versus 675 trees in 2022. That seems like a lot.
In 2022, we did 400-something trees downtown.
Oh, that was...
We did a mass pruning downtown. It was a special project.
Yeah, that was the West Coast Arborists did the downtown district kind of pruning.
But that is an accurate number.
Okay, wow. 57 trees were planted versus 45 city trees planted in 2022. 376 tree permit applications were received versus 180 in 2022. 336 of those were resolved, and 155 of those were resolved last year. It looks like about the same, pretty close percentage. 340 private trees were permitted for removal versus 149 the year before, and 236 private trees were required to be replanted versus 85. That's a 68, almost a 69% replant percentage versus 57 of the year before. And in terms of responding to residents, we received 2,161 tickets on Fresh Desk, which is our ticket platform. It was not tracked in 2022, and we responded to 2,120, so a 98% response rate.
I bet those other 41 people are mad.
Mark missed the 2%. He did the 98%. Did the 98%.
Wait, Mark doesn't leave till tomorrow.
The goals for the new year, we want to get this forest master plan, if not done and buttoned up, at least in the works and editing and getting public comment, and have another meeting and have everybody weigh in on how it's going. Just increasing more public outreach in general, and kind of, get everybody involved. Really want to reduce the backlog of stumps, because that's been a common complaint. I think we have like at least 300 stumps that are just there that we have our city stump grinder, so we're cracking away, but some of these are just huge and we have to contract them, or they're in hard to get places. We're trying to part of that, we're trying to streamline the task order and working with our contractors. Really, especially me coming in the first year managing the contracts, really seeing what the challenges are and cracking down on those contractors. And then really want to work on a training program and getting everybody more professional training, and at least one, that's the goal, hopefully two, to take and pass the certified arborist exam, get more arborists on staff. The urban forest master plan, the process as we are now, they presented the survey to you guys last month. It sounds like everything went pretty well. 358 respondents. The draft should be coming soon. I think there's maybe need 1 or 2 more things that I've got them, and they should be getting that soon. It was expected in December, but I mean the whole process has been kind of pushed out. So hopefully January or February we should be getting the first draft, then we can process a little bit, and then we bring it to you at a upcoming Forest and Beach Commission to have you guys all weigh in on it. Another thing we did over the last month, we issued a task order to West Coast Arborists to start clearing out all the logs at Rio Park because it's just been bad. It was a fire risk is just unmanageable, and they got a decent amount. We were working with the city of Monterey because they had all the equipment there to clear out the Capitol site, so it was a lot cheaper to bring the logs there, and they disposed of them for us. And the Traffic Safety Committee had brought up several key areas of the city, so we have been clearing stop signs and intersections, and our landscape contractors are continuing their task orders that are working really well on an automated thing, just having them take care of things around the city. The graphs are there, but they're pretty much covered in the table. So, any questions?
Was it unrealistic to reach out to the public that might have been interested in the wood and in the logs? Is that just, or was that kind of it's beyond fathomable? It's too big of a project, or?
It is. I mean, it's a little bit, because anytime that happens, it's like, hey, oh, you want a pine log? How are you gonna get it? You know, we don't have a crane, or the loader. It's really hard. And working in private industry, we would try to get rid of logs like that because it's very expensive to dump them, but they have to be set up for it. Like, we would find people with small mill operations, but they would basically have to show up with the lowboy truck to be able to take everything, and we had a crane on site. So without a crane and without a proper trucking, it's really hard to give them, and I think that we've let residents or people take wood chips. The logs, it'd be really hard, and it's just the liability, and I think that we don't have the equipment set up to do that.
Got it. And how do we communicate to the city residents that there are those wood chips available, for instance? Is that just something that's like a public understanding, or?
I think so. I don't know. I know that Rob has been doing that, and I mean, we have a lot. I don't know if we're planning to use them all or get rid of them. Bob, do we have any plans?
The majority of them are used annually at the Mission Trail Nature Preserve, redoing the trails. That's the bulk of it. Some people throughout the city call every once in a while or ask for a load of wood chips, Mission Trail Nature Preserve or the north end of town. So yeah, people know about it. I think we did, a couple of years back, we did it was in the Friday Letter or something, we did an announcement like, hey, we had a lot of wood chips, come and take them. Mm-hmm. And there were only a handful of people, but the non-usual people showed up and grabbed the truckload.
The go-getters, because we can't sit there and load their trucks, and because then hey, you broke my window, that's another claim.
We just open the gate and let them.
So they have to want it, and then they have to want to go down there and shovel for 3 hours.
But it is super important to the Mission Trail, and the fact that you've added those
we do use them, and we have a very large pile, and it gets used all the time because there's a lot of trail area in Mission Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Any other questions? Any other questions? Well, open it up for some public comment. Start with chambers first. Doesn't look like it. We'll take it out to our online community. We still have a handful hanging on. Anyone care to make it? Doesn't look like it, so we'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it back. Thank you very much. Looks like we're on to our last order of business. That would be the case. Our illustrious Public Works Director's report for December.
Illustrious who?
Illustrious.
Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Starting with the council actions related to forestry, parks, and beach. Again, Jerry Montmorency, is that correct? Was the big news, and look forward to having him right over here next month. There was no other actions from the council that directly related to forestry, parks, and beach. I could bore you about police department, police station news, and/or scout house relocation information, but that's not really forestry, parks, and beach. And it's getting late, right? Yes. Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, the big issues were the police station, to proceed with the conceptual design of a new station at Vista Lobos, hopefully without impacting the Vista Lobos Park, and also considering renovating the existing police public works building to accommodate a larger police station. Basically, in the Scout House, Council's asking us to look closer into relocating the building to a site to be
Just the top of
determined.
it?
There's talk about just the top of it, but that has historic preservation impacts. There's environmental impacts, there's Surplus Lands Act impacts, there's CEQA impacts, there's lots of different impacts. There'll be more paperwork than the house.
Yeah.
Forestry, parks, and beach-related capital improvement projects, there's a couple things to report. I think I mentioned this before. Mission Trail Nature Preserve, the 3 drainage projects at the south end Mission Trails, plan specs, contract documents, permits are all done, and we should be advertising for construction bids as soon as next week. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. That'll be under construction in the spring. Also, just a small item, we did a series of, we had an electrical engineering consultant review our electrical panels. One of them is in the meeting island, the Ocean Avenue meeting island near the Christmas tree. So the Christmas tree plugs into an electrical panel that's no longer, that's past its serviceable life. So between now and next Christmas, we're going to be replacing it. So it's in a median island. I don't know.
You have a while to go.
It's somewhat facility maintenance, it's somewhat island, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's it for capital projects. No update, there was no climate committee meeting last month, and nothing to report on climate actions at this point. Well, I guess I can. Task 3 and 4. We saw task 1 was the beach structure survey that was reported to us last year. Task 2 was the tides and the sand coming in and out. Task 3 and 4 is more vulnerability assessment of sea level rise and stronger storms and adaptation strategies. So the consultants are almost done. So that will be come to this commission either February or March. So that's incoming. Okay, so that's the good news. It'll be interesting.
Who's riding the electric bike? We're gonna go on riding dates. Where are you doing it? All right.
Volunteer organizations, a few things. Speaking of Carmel Cares, in February, I'll go to the city, or Dale and I will be going to the city council. Basically, in the calendar year 2023, we're going to ask the council to accept $149,000 of physical materials and parts and whatever, and about 6,000 labor hours, volunteer labor hours, on a variety of projects, from the Scenic Pathway Barrier Rail, work at Forest Theater, meeting minders, that type of thing. Mary is working with the Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve to install the map entry signs in Mission Trails. So that's in progress. There also discussion about a new footbridge near the northerly concrete ford at where the pump house was. In the Redwood area, yeah. So anyway, so there's exploratory, how are we going to put in a new footbridge? And I believe the Friends of Mission Trail wants us to make a footbridge similar to the one we just did last month. And so we'll get a vet right there pretty soon. And a shout out also to the Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve. They upgraded Martin Road entrance into the preserve. They added wood chips to the trailhead, cleared the trail. And also at Doolittle Trail, they repaired an uneven switchback, trimmed cypress trees, removed the stump. And that was kind of a shared project, so the city and Friends both paid $4,500. Okay? Good news. And last but not least, miscellaneous forestry, parks, and beach items. Oh, the storms. The storms. Okay, so I believe the last week of December and the first week of January, we received over 3 inches of rain. Good news is that there was, we lost one tree. The one tree fell on our brand new cedar fence at Forest Hill Park. Was that the same where that photo was taken? That's where the tree landed and broke the fence? No. It's close? Yeah. Okay. But that's been repaired. No flooding, no significant erosion. We had a bunch of potholes, those are all filled in. So overall from the rain, even though we got a lot of rain, there was no high intensity rain and we fared well. On the flip side, the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had king tides, we had strong pounding, and it was certainly not just Carmel. You've probably seen on the news, Aptos and Santa Cruz and Southern California, Ventura, all got pounded at the beach.
So I saw the County of Monterey has declared an emergency for the County of Monterey for the beach.
That's correct.
So does that help us or affect us at all?
Our police department coordinates with them all the time. I was notified over my Christmas holiday. Oh, close the beach. Close all the we close all the access stairs. I believe they're still closed.
Yeah, the signs are still
yeah.
up. But I'm just saying, I'm wondering if that gets us any access to funding, or I'm just curious. Dare I even raise that again, but it's...
The last time we attempted to go
I
after
know.
FEMA funding,
I understand.
asking for 120,000 plus, we got 3,000. We spent 60,000 to get 3,000.
Yeah.
So the police chief and I have an agreement that if it's under 2 trillion, we're going to bite the dust and try to fix it ourselves. We'll get a vet out there to patch it up. But anyway, so the beach Essex stairs were temporarily closed, all of them. And the waves damaged 3 more wooden stairs.
Yeah.
So 10th Avenue, 12th Avenue, and Martin Way, a lot of damage, railings, missing treads, drop-offs at the bottom.
Yeah.
This is in addition to 4th Avenue, which was damaged I'm not sure if it was January or March. Those are going to be closed for a while. Now we have 4 wooden stairs that need significant repairs. One thing to point out is that the concrete and the stone, mostly the stone stairs, they all did fine. Some might have drop-offs or whatever at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the 3
old as
little
they
pigs
are.
in the houses or something, where the stone stairs did really well and the wooden structures didn't. So that's a lesson learned. Also, we talked about this before, our beach access ramp between 8th and 9th Avenues. We used that for for decades to get our heavy equipment down so we can bury seals, we can move logs and whatnot. So last year it was wiped out, and we had to modify Del Mar parking lot so that fire trucks, we have to lower the pressure of the tires, get fire trucks or public works vehicles or fire vehicles out onto the beach. So it's a temporary measure. The sand was coming back. We got half of the sand back at the ramp until Christmas time. And then Mother Nature did her thing, and now last we saw was a 14-foot drop.
Oh, wow.
So it's even worse now than it probably was a year ago. Okay? So it's going to take perhaps another 2 years without the kind of pounding we got this past few weeks. So that's the bad news on the beach. We replaced the backflow device at Vista Lobos Park. And ordered new steel doors for Devendorf and First Murphy Park restrooms. These are parks.
Did you get the team building?
I think I talked about that last year, or last month.
It was last
Last year?
last month. That's all I had, Mr. Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry,
So
new doors for which restroom?
Devendorf and First Murphy. The old steel doors are just all beat up and mangled, and it's time. But we're also doing, we're doing over the past couple of years, and especially the last couple of months, a lot of improvements on our park restrooms. Because many of them have really been deteriorated. We painted a few, I think I mentioned. Replaced water filter systems, toilets, ADA partitions, that type of thing. So we're putting a little bit of love and care into our park restrooms so they're not as atrocious as they were several years ago.
I had a question too about the beach access ramp.
Okay.
Because I know when we received our project that was done by, I can't remember what the name was, the folks who did our project to look at all of our stairs and the ocean and are going to follow up with that. They had given us a lot of history on what had happened in the last, I think it was almost 100 years.
Correct.
It doesn't sound like we're getting the kind of recovery time like they had mentioned. They said we would have these big storms and then there would be some years where we didn't, so we would have a chance to recover sand and all of that. Are we going to come up with a plan if this continues on? Because now it sounds as though it's worse than it was last year.
That's a good question. I'll ask Mary to help answer that question. I can say that the consultants estimated a 2-year turnaround from the last year's storm.
Okay.
And the sand came back roughly halfway. So we were kind of on track, except we got another 2-year in a row whammy. So how do we address it for the long term if it keeps happening?
Well, the long term is they're looking at impacts in the next report in task 3 and 4, and also the adaptation strategies. So those adaptation strategies are what they are going to be proposing on how we deal with this in the future.
Okay.
So we're meeting with them next Friday, I think, at a staff level, and then proposing to bring
So
that.
they're aware of it. And
They're aware.
They're going to be-
We're letting them know what the impacts are with the king tides this week, and
Because that didn't even seem like a really big storm. It sort of just hit us. And if it does that much damage, and we're only maybe at the beginning of the season, what else?
The waves
You
were
couldn't walk
unbelievable,
the,
though.
you
Yeah,
still
I know,
can't the
but it
south
just-
out
it
to
was-
the beach.
It was
Yeah.
quite a few days, you know, it's been rough up there. And
It was rougher, I think, out on the sea. The storm didn't really hit us quite as much, on land. It wasn't the same kind of a storm
It
that we
came
had.
directly
but it
at
came.
us, so.
Yeah, it did. It was
Instead of,
in
I mean,
the ocean.
Point
Right.
Locust hardly had any waves, it was just coming straight.
I just
in.
climbed over all the rock, I just kept climbing the rocks to,
But that was just the first one of the year, and it's, so I'm just wondering what, if we continue, have even 1 or 2 more, where are we going to be? Just trying to see.
I mean, I think that this is where we kind of have to look and see what the city wants to come up with, how we're going to deal with it and for the future. Yeah.
To that,
It does
to
seem
that
like
end,
we
like,
should've-
what are we gonna, do we have an opportunity, considering what I would believe more of a sense of urgency around impact of consolidation of people going up and down the Del Mar dunes down to the beach and limited access points? Is there anything that we can do to accelerate the process and go to city council asking for an allocation of funds to at least put 1 or 2 of the stairs back in commission? Is that, what should we do?
We do have an existing capital project to replace or to repair 2 stairs. Now we're up to 4. The capital improvement program for next fiscal year will be coming in the next couple of months, and I don't know how much I'm going to ask for. I'm going to ask for a bunch of money, as much as we can get, for more repairs to the beach stairs, and again, the revetments, the seawall, the Fourth Avenue outfall. That wall is really bad. So yeah, we have a lot
targeting
of
2 stairways in the existing capital improvement for this upcoming fiscal year.
We do.
Okay. Yeah.
it just seems that it is the biggest asset of our town, and to have 4 and I know what happened with FEMA. I understand everything that happened previously, But it just seems like if we're losing public access, if we don't have a ramp for safety for vehicles, that those are things that FEMA funds all the time, right? I only say this because I have a family history in North Carolina where the stairs go out every single year and they get replaced every single year, and it's paid for with government money.
Really?
So it'd be worth, it might be worth just seeing, are there ways to tap into some of these things, right? Just to see, I don't know, just to see. Yeah.
And again, I'm concerned about the impact of all those bodies going up and down the dunes, with especially the sand accretion. That's a concern for me. So I just wondering how we're able to accelerate and perhaps skip over. And I know there's no declaration of emergency. I'm not saying that, but how do we move to where the city council acts, they allocate the funds, and then we're able to accelerate the process to actually act on it and get it done?
But that's what Monterey County just declared emergency. That's why I was asking how that affected us, right? Because we're in Monterey County.
Worth looking at, like, what that meant for, what are they doing with that? And maybe we can learn something from it. It's just in terms of what we know is the damage done. That's certainly something I think sounds like on all of our minds, and how we can be of assistance to the city in providing some guidance. So.
And if we fall under the umbrella of the county, I think that's true. Is there anything that we could, if it's been done, can we just tap into that, see if since we are a part of the county, can we?
The county has certainly been working on the river beach. You just see.
Yeah, boy, they got a bunch of folks out there digging that trench to release the river water. You guys are going to go back after that 150, huh? That CAL FIRE reimbursement grant, you guys, you're going to.
We are proposing to send a letter to State Senator Laird. We tried in good faith to administer this $150,000 CAL FIRE grant, which, because of the delays beyond our control, like storms, is now maximum $132,000. And we threw in the towel. We put in 150 hours of work and we got zero reimbursement. So we gave up. So the city, I sent a message, I don't know if I copied you, sent a message to City Council, like, here's the facts. We beg for relief of further administering the grant. And the council responded, okay, well, we've already talked directly to CAL FIRE. So they know that we're frustrated, and it didn't seem to get much results. So one of the council members says, let's get the state senator involved. Maybe there's something that the state senator can do that we could not.
Perhaps as commissioners, we all also could sign a letter with all of our our names on it, supporting that as well. That goes out to Senator Laird. I met him the last time he was here in town. And I think for all of us, again, wanting to support the ability to grab those funds.
It's just, how do we help, right? Is there anything that we can do to help?
I already have a draft letter to the council. I will I will see if that would be, because it's to be signed by the mayor.
Yeah.
And it'd be great to have, say you on behalf of the commission sign it as well.
Yeah, I'd love to. Reminder to save the date for our Earth Day, right?
Yes.
April 20th, just to note that and whatever, and how we can participate in that again. So hopefully everyone will be able to get that on their calendar. And I just have two last things, sorry. In our responses for the community survey, we did talk about potentially having an opportunity for some follow-up questions, and I know we talked about just doing that internally as an internal mechanism, and I'm wondering if we can come up with somewhere on, maybe just on the city website that's related to Forest and Beach, that provides like a box for, hey, did you have any questions that got missed, and create a window of opportunity for people to plug those in, and so that just in case, because I got some feedback, and I think we've got obviously a broad demographic, and not everybody completely understands everything that they read all the time, and some whatever they have the time to do this and they forget or whatever it is. I've gotten enough feedback around town and through some other things that I'm involved in that just like, hey, we still have some questions. Where can we ask?
Yeah.
So I know we talked about it. I'm not talking about doing something formal again per se, but if we could look at that, we've said, yeah, we will, but I really like us, if we could anyway, move that way just for a short period of time.
If I may comment on that,
Please.
on Justin's to-do list, well, we were going to put in a summary of a recap of 2023, the 2022 in the Pine Cone,
Yes.
our website, and the Friday letters. We did Friday letter already. And we were in the Pine Cone, we were talking about like an 8th-page ad or something. Click here to get your permit for tree evaluations, pruning, removals. Click here. And in fact, they just came up with a new online permit form that's like easier to understand, I guess.
Yeah, I should have, like I said, that will be coming up next month, but we're finalizing it. We met with planning this week, and we're finalizing a new tree permit form that is clearer.
So go there to click on the link, and then we're going to do other links for, I think it was Commissioner Brzezowski, for tree health, click here. For landscape tips, click here. For watering, click here. So we were going to put together, so it's on the to-do list.
So, and sorry, the new permit is live. It is online. So if you want to look it up, you can see the differences. It's clear. It has more information to get exactly hopefully what we need.
And Mr. Ford will be coming back January 29th, we believe, and we'll be able to catch our breath and get some of these great things done.
So what was there's an issue with the wave broadband and putting the optic lines. I mean, isn't that part of that whole fencing thing that we've been waiting on repair? I'm just reading that in your additional capital projects. There was this, met with wave broadband to discuss their concerns with the council's request to install the fiber optics. Is that down there along San Antonio, or is that at a different place entirely?
Oh, no, this is San Antonio all the way down to 8th.
Yeah.
That makes like a big U. All the way up Carpenter, it goes into the county, it goes into Pebble Beach.
Wow.
And then there's some underground on San Carlos. But anyway, so this is it's part of a big regional fiber optic upgrade. It's already installed in Pacific Grove and City of Monterey. I'm not sure how much they got for Pebble Beach. But anyway, so they applied for a permit. That's what I started in June 2017, that was one of the first things. So we've been working with this company for 6.5 years on their permit. It's another long story. The alignment has been locked in. Exactly what they wanted has been locked in. The guy wire has been locked in. The arborist reports have been finalized. The conditions of approval, everything's done. We went to City Council a few months ago, and the comments from the council was like, we want to go underground. Why are you talking about, it's a thin little line, it's not like,
It's the thick
So that's not what's holding up the repair of the walking path?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, sorry, that's why I thought it was related to that.
No.
And I'm concerned as the pro-am's coming up and people utilize that. Are we addressing that? Are we able to address that? Or?
We did install DG in the cracks. We are underway in the design of the repairs of that fence. When it's all said and done, the fence, which is completely unfunded, the fence will look to be exactly like it used to, the grape stake fence. For the AT&T, we have caution tape in certain areas, the bad spots, and we double check usually on Fridays, and we'll just make sure it's in good condition for that event.
God, and last I had is you guys removed some critters from underneath City Hall.
Oh yeah, right out there, right behind where Justin is.
Did you have to get like Coastal Commission to approve it, or?
What? Say what?
I don't think what else do we. Let's see. I'll look to Chambers for some public comment.
At least there wasn't any driftwood back there.
I think that would be DFW.
Pull that. Anyone from the Chambers with public comment? Doesn't look like anyone's taking the podium. Anyone online that would like to make a public comment regarding our director's report? I see a hand up.
Yes,
Shirley
Shirley
Moon.
Moon.
Fantastic.
Shirley, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi there. I just
would like to know how we can get some kind of calendar of how the beach is going to be put back together. I understand there are challenges in how to get funding and everything, but to just leave the beach closed and have all those ugly boards up for the next 2 or 3 or 4 months or maybe a year with the stairs hanging in various states of condition. And it's just unsettling to not have any kind of a projected time frame of when these issues will be addressed. And in addition to that, I have some very frightening videos of the logs and debris and driftwood slamming into our seawalls as battering rams. I'm not sure that it's going to be a deal killer to replace a couple of treads on a step. But if we start losing our seawalls because we failed to pick up the logs before the first storm, we've got some serious money that's going to go out, and we'll be shutting down that entire beach. So I'm very alarmed at what the condition is and the fact that we don't have a step to go forward and solve these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Anyone else in our online community care to make a public comment? Okay, doesn't look like I closed that. Bring it back here for future agenda items.
That's 3 and 4.
I would just like to find out an answer about the county, it's not a state of emergency, what's the term again?
Yeah, they declared a...
They declared a state of emergency.
Okay.
Santa Cruz County and Monterey County both did.
Okay.
For the
So-
December storms.
Okay.
So just
If we can just find out what the status is, so maybe we could get some of our stairs repaired, or maybe we can get some funding to try to, do something about the area on 8th, so we can start to get, if we had to get any emergency vehicles down, is there any sort of help that we could get? Do we fall under that in any way?
I can ask our police chief to attend the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I think...
That's 2 and 3.
I think to...
I'm sorry.
Maybe just a discussion of how we can help, because I have a lot of empathy for Shirley's comment about just, it would be great to have a roadmap or a plan.
Agreed.
Even if it was a multi-year plan. I realize we can't do everything, we don't have all the funds, but you said we have 2 stairs we can work on this year. Just how do we put the fabric of a roadmap in place? And I realize we have consultants working on things for us in parallel, but it would be nice to have an infographic so that, or something where we could just map out what it looks like, so that people, our citizens and our town, we owe that to our residents, right?
Right.
To what we're doing about the beach.
Just some visibility around it.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
and I would agree wholeheartedly. So I think we're all, and I'm sure Public Works is as well. So anything else?
Possible urban forest master plan if it's first review. If it's
Wow.
As soon as possible, yes.
Yeah.
That could be great. Well, if nothing more, then looks like we're going to adjourn the meeting, 5 p.m. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. First time ever.
Oh, no. Good.
Thank you.